Your personal experience with money makes up maybe 0.000001% of what's happened in the world, but it's maybe 80% of how you think the world works. Every financial decision you make, from buying a coffee to investing for retirement, is filtered through a unique lens. Her lens shaped by the decade you were born in, the country you live in, the parents who raised you, and the economic climate you grew up navigating. What you've lived through, what you've seen with your own eyes, shapes your financial beliefs more than any textbook, expert, or spreadsheet ever could. And because of this deeply personal history, no one's financial decisions are truly crazy. They simply make perfect sense to them, within the context of their own life story. Gas prices doubled, groceries became more expensive every week, and her parents constantly worried about making ends meet. Sarah learned early on that cash loses value over time. To her, the only way to protect her money was to invest in things she could touch, like real estate or gold. Now compare that to Jason, who was born in the 1990s. He grew up in a world where the stock market, especially tech stocks, seemed like a rocket ship to wealth. Inflation was barely noticeable, and his parents taught him that the biggest risk wasn't inflation, but missing out on the market's growth. Same world, same economy, but two completely different lessons learned. Neither Sarah nor Jason is wrong. Neither is crazy. They're simply acting on what their life has shown them to be true. This principle explains so many financial behaviors that might otherwise seem irrational. Consider the simple act of buying a lottery ticket. From a purely mathematical standpoint, it's a terrible investment. The odds of winning are astronomically low. But if you're working a minimum wage job, struggling to pay bills, and that $1 ticket represents the only conceivable path to a life-changing sum of money, the kind of money that could buy a reliable car, a down payment on a home, or erase medical debt, it doesn't feel like a foolish bet. It feels like buying hope. For someone with a comfortable salary and a 401k, that dollar is trivial. But for the person buying the ticket, it's a lifeline to a dream. Their decision is based on a different set of options and a different emotional reality. We are all navigating our financial lives with an incomplete map, drawn from our own limited travels. We're often taught that finance is a hard science like physics, governed by unbreakable rules and timeless truths. But it's not. It's a soft science driven by psychology and emotion. It's a field where people from different backgrounds with different fears, goals, and blind spots make decisions that seem perfectly logical to them. There isn't one single right answer, because the questions are different for everyone. Your idea of a smart investment might be my idea of a reckless gamble. My definition of a secure retirement might seem painfully conservative to you. The Great Depression is perhaps the most powerful example of this. The generation that lived through it was permanently scarred by the experience of seeing their life savings vanish and their communities crumble. For the rest of their lives, many of them viewed the stock market as a rigged casino and any form of debt as a dangerous trap. They clung to cash, hiding it under mattresses even as inflation slowly eroded its value. Why? Because the emotional pain of their past was far more real and powerful than any financial advisor's chart showing long-term market returns. Their children, the baby boomers, grew up in the shadow of that fear but in the light of an unprecedented economic boom. They saw opportunity, not just risk, and were more comfortable using debt to build wealth. Who was right? Both were. Both were acting rationally based on the powerful lessons life had taught them. It's also crucial to remember how new modern finance really is. Most of the tools we take for granted today, like 401ks, Roth IRAs, and low-cost index funds, are remarkably recent inventions. A 401k is a retirement savings plan offered by employers, allowing workers to invest part of their paycheck before taxes. A Roth IRA is a personal retirement account where you invest after-tax money, and then all your withdrawals in retirement are tax-free. These concepts are younger than many of the people who rely on them. We haven't had generations to build up collective wisdom. We are in a very real sense the first generation of guinea pigs, tasked with being our own financial planners in a world with fewer pensions and weaker social safety nets. So we're all improvising, using our own limited experiences as a script. We see the world through our own narrow keyhole, yet we often assume we're looking through a panoramic window. We judge others for their financial choices without taking a moment to understand the story behind them. We see a neighbor with a brand new luxury car and might label them as irresponsible, without knowing they saved diligently for a decade to buy their dream car outright. We see a co-worker who lives with extreme frugality and might praise their discipline, without realizing they are driven by a paralyzing fear of poverty that prevents them from enjoying their life. The most profound shift in managing your money comes from recognizing that your financial worldview is just one of many. What seems like common sense to you might be a foreign concept to someone else, and what they do with their money, which might look like a glaring mistake to you, could be the most logical and emotionally sound decision from their point of view. For instance, some people hold on to losing investments far too long, a behavior that baffles economists. Why not just sell, cut your losses, and reinvest in something better? Because selling crystallizes the loss. It forces you to admit you made a mistake, which is emotionally painful. So people hold on, hoping for a rebound, because the emotional cost of admitting failure feels higher than the ongoing financial cost of a poor investment. It's not about the numbers. It's about the narrative in their head. This applies to every corner of our financial lives. How much you save, where you invest, the type of home you buy, the amount of debt you're willing to carry, it's all deeply personal. There is no universal right answer. The best financial skill you can develop is not mastering spreadsheets or picking stocks. It's self-awareness. It's taking the time to understand your own history, your own biases, and your own definition of success. It's recognizing that your view of the financial world is shaped by a tiny, unique sliver of its history. And it's having the humility to accept that other people, with their own unique experiences, see the world differently. They aren't crazy. They're just playing a different game. Once you truly accept that, you can stop the exhausting work of judging others and start the essential work of building a financial life that makes sense for you. This is educational content, not financial advice. If you're ready to act, start small today. Open your notes app and write down your earliest memory of money. What did your parents teach you about it? What was the economy like when you were growing up? Then take one small step. Set a savings goal, even if it's just $10 a week. Keep adding to your money story and your savings for the next few weeks. Understanding your past is the first step to building a better future. If this helped, like, share, and subscribe to Money Mindset Labs.